Krishna Hare Rama, Hare Krishna. Welcome everyone to Bhagavata Sravana. Thank you so much for being here. This is our weekly program. We have a very special guest today. He's not a guest. He's the executive director of Bhakti Center. But a very, very special person, and he's actually been on a spiritual journey his entire life. And when he was 18, he became a monk. And he lived in various different ashrams across the United States. And then in 2008, he moved here to Bhakti Center to participate in what was really like the formative years of Bhakti Center, when it was really developing and becoming what it is today. And then after 10 years of being a monk, he met his wife and he got married. And he continues to live and serve here as our executive director. And we're so happy to have you speak to us today. Thank you so much, Dayal.
That a little bit just to go over some of the. I'll get in, won't use it quite yet. We'll use it in a minute. Real quick, before we get started, turn to your neighbor and just tell them why you're here. Why you're here this morning. Introduce yourself if you don't know each other. If you do know each other, introduce yourself again. And if you're, tell them why you're here. And be specific. If you're just here like, oh, I wanted to hear the class. Like, what is it that you wanted to hear about the class? And if you're here just because of the lunch, what is it about the lunch? Don't be shy. Everyone needs to. If you need to get in a group of 3, that's okay. Just here because they told me to be here. That's okay. Good answer. Good. All bring your neighbor. Journal for a second. Okay. We can come back. Thank you so much, Kishore. We can come back. Some of you guys talking about why you're here. Some of you guys are talking about the World Cup. Some of you guys are talking about world affairs. I hear what's going on in there. You're not talking about why you're here. Get in alternate conversations. What are some reasons? Who's here? Who's got a good reason to be here? Who's got a not good reason to be here? Who's here by mistake? Who didn't realize this program was going on? And it's like, oops. Anybody want to share why they're here? It's not a trick question.
Yeah, I can share.
Yeah, please. And I saw 2 other hands over there.
Oh, let them go first.
No, you're going first.
Oh. I'm here because I wasn't planning on coming here, but I came on Thursday. This wonderful devotee here. And he said we should get together and talk. And so, actually, I'm here because he invited me to come today because I had other things on my agenda. And I'm so happy that I did that. So I'd like to thank you for that.
Thank you.
Pablo, his name's Pablo. And he's leaving, he's only here for a few days, he's from Ecuador. He's leaving on Wednesday, so we decided to check in with each other. It's been wonderful.
Very good.
Yeah, I'm here by really grace, and I'm grateful to be here, excited to listen to your lecture today. And it also organized the rest of my day because I made plans with other people before and after, and I'm excited for all the good and the conversations. Thank
Sush, there's a hand back there.
I would agree with Rostu and kind of listen to yourself, but then I think what always brings me here is to hopefully kind of experience a bigger piece of life.
Very recent way, that's really beautiful. We don't have the hand holding, do we?
Yeah.
If they need it, I'm going to ask a few questions. Diane, welcome. Thanks for being here. I asked that question, I think it's a good question to ask every week sometimes. It's easy in spiritual life to sometimes just kind of go through the motions without setting an intention of actually like, why is it that I'm doing what I'm doing? And whether it's in our spiritual practice, whether it's in our reading, our listening, or our service, it's spiritual life. And we'll talk a little bit about that today. It's not just about going through the motions, but it's about really connecting to why I'm doing something. And we get more out of something when we connect to that on a personal level. The spiritual life is something that it's up for us to get as much as we want out of it. A community is up for us to get as much as we want out of it. A temple, a center is up for us to get as much as we want out of it. And that taking responsibility for our personal spiritual life is something very powerful that we can do for ourselves and just remind us, like, what is it that I'm looking to get out of my time here today? And very often when we get something very valuable in the heart, it's not necessarily because the speaker was so amazing or they said something that we ever heard before, but because our heart was open in a way that it wasn't before. And we can hear the same things over and over and over again. Srila Prabhupada would mention this, and it's often repeated in some of teachers when they're teaching Shastra classes or Bhakti Shastri classes, and they'll mention that Srila Prabhupada reference that if you don't understand something that is being said or read in his books, then you should read it again and again until the understanding can sink in. And so when we're hearing classes and when we're studying spiritual life and we're serving, it's not that we're going to hear something necessarily new that we've never heard before. We want it to sink into our heart in a way that it never has before. We want it to come alive in this particular season phase of our life. And so it's important for us to set that intention. And the topic, Champak asked me to give a topic for today, and something that I've been thinking about is creating space for vulnerability in Vaishnava communities. And specifically, it's not, the takeaway for today isn't going to be, you need to be more vulnerable and go be more vulnerable, and over lunch I want you to spill your guts and tell everybody what's going on in your life. But actually it's how can we as a community create space for that to take place. And so it's not an individual mandate for individuals to start being more vulnerable, but it's a collective call for us as a community, whether a Bhakti Center community, a wider community, to understand what it means to create space and understand the need to create space for acceptance, understanding, grace, honesty, and root of vulnerability. And there's a few words that I wanted to share in that context, which I'll share like kind of to frame our discussion. I wanted to look at a process of spiritual development as outlined by Rupa Goswami in his literatures and how it relates to the concept of vulnerability and honesty and acceptance and grace in the community. And then I wanted to look at a few verses. I wanted to look particularly at a verse that we maybe have heard often before in the Srimad Bhagavatam. And I wanted to also spend some time, in addition to me just telling some stories and reading verses, I wanted to read some of these verses together and have the opportunity to just kind of read some of Srila Prabhupada's purports and just allow that to kind of sink in for us and just kind of have that exposure to sacred sound and sacred literature. And I wanted to give examples from across Bhakti literatures, from the Bhagavad Gita, from Srimad Bhagavatam, from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, these examples of what we're talking about, and then bring it home for us. So the first word that I wanted to bring out for us is inspiration. Our spiritual life begins with a drop of inspiration, and much of our spiritual life is a process of trying to stoke our inspiration, right? We're fueled by inspiration. When there's inspiration, we can do a lot. We're doing our spiritual practices, we're doing our services. You can do anything if you're inspired. And if you're not inspired, it's hard to do anything. You just get stuck, right? The simplest of things that we have to do. And when you look at our spiritual life and what's being asked of us in terms of our sadhana, in terms of our study, in terms of our service, a lot of it is simple in nature, but if I'm not inspired, there's no fuel. And so we live off of inspiration. We all begin our spiritual life on some level of inspiration. So I just want you to take a moment again, I'm going to ask you the question, is I want you to just think, and there's so many examples, whether it's Whether it's examples of characters or stories in Shastra, whether it's people that we know, whether it's people that we never met that have passed away, whether it's Srila Prabhupada, whether it's some of his disciples, maybe it's somebody in this room. I want you to think of somebody or a story, an example of somebody that inspires you or has inspired you, and I want you to share with the person next to you. Right now. It doesn't have to be big or life-changing or like, it could just be something small, it could be something big. Be specific, think of a person, think of a story, think of an example. We all have, don't overthink it. Be your friend.
I don't know, I mean, like,
Hello, Jaya. Good to see you. Good to see you. Make sure both people get a chance to share, get a chance to talk. Did we get that, did we get the wireless mic? Great, we're gonna pass that around. Okay. Inspiration is flowing. Who wants to share, give an example of something, someone in their spiritual life that has or does inspire them, or just something, it could be an example of something they saw, something they said, something, the way they live their life. Welcome to my church. Welcome. You want to share something?
I was just thinking, I was just sharing that something that inspired me was also a leader. I was actually sharing that I'm from London and we have a temple community. And we used to because he's passed away now, but we used to have a temple president, his name was Sravana in Guru. And he was very, very much an inspiration to me because as a leader, he would always inspire by his action. So whenever we had anything, he would never ask somebody to do something that he himself was not willing to do. He would be the first one to do something, to initiate something, and the last one to leave. So for me, that was very inspiring.
The leader in London who passed away, who was leading by an example and was always just kind of there, shoulder to shoulder with his community, and just his service attitude and his humility in service was just inspiring to see that example.
Yeah, and I would also add to that he was also somebody that would make time to listen and always had a very personal touch. And he was always inspiring to all things.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Somebody else? We need a couple more. There's a hand in the back there.
Hi, just somebody who's still living, but very inspiring for me because she was a known celebrity, very gorgeous in the Indian film industry, lustrous long hair, and every possible hair product she wanted for, and then discovered the stage 4 cancer. And we all know what happens to hair with cancer. She did survive after 3 years of struggle without hair and came back fighting fit, which is incredible because we keep lamenting about little things in life, and here was somebody who lost everything. Literally her career, her face, her hair, everything, and persevered. I think it's so inspirational. We get caught up and feel depressed with little things. We look at bigger things outside because if we are suffering, there are millions who are suffering more than us, and we should thank God for small mercies.
Somebody who experienced a tremendous challenge and persevered and came out on top of it and moved through it with a level of integrity and inspiration. Thank you, thank you. We got one up here. Got another look, and we're going to get one more, so think who's going to raise their hand.
I really
have to say that the person who inspired me most was the Srila Prabhupada sitting on that Vyasa now. Because I grew up in the city and I grew up an orphan in different homes and very, very fortunate when I could go to the temple and to hear Prabhupada speak. And at that time I was 17 years old and I had come through tremendous difficulties. Couldn't even read, by the way. And just seeing Prabhupada that day, I'd been to the temple a couple of times. And then one day Prabhupada was leaving and I was looking and all the devotees were there. It was just like a festival. And I was thinking to myself, who is this man? You know, because they were throwing flowers on him and they were bowing down and it was just something beyond me. And after Prabhupada left, I'll go quick. After Prabhupada left, he got in his car and he drove off. But just before he left, all the women there threw a bunch of flowers on him. They showered him with flowers. And I walked over. I don't know what possessed me to do this, but I walked over and everybody, it was quiet. It was very serene. And I walked over and I stood right where Prabhupada had gotten in the car and I just felt a sense of peace after tragedy, in my life. So that was my inspiration. That's why I'm sitting here today. And that's why I'm, still trying to be inspired by Srila Prabhupada. And I hope that all of you will be inspired by Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Nate, yeah.
I have one person in mind that inspires me most. He's Ram Murphy, very close associate of mine with a saint actually. So he's been going on Harinam every single day for 10 years.
He's out there right now.
He's out there, I mean,
In an hour or two.
but I mean, he's showing the example of how important Harinam Sankirtan is. And he's trying to bring that back to life. I think that's just so heartwarming.
Yeah.
He's an old man. He's just like really dedicated to just going out there 24/7 every single day.
Steadiness, consistency. When we see somebody just kind of steadily apply themselves, as I was hearing leading by example and humility and compassion to people that we're trying to lead. I was hearing moving through tremendous challenges and difficulties with grace and with a higher consciousness, purity of heart, Srila Prabhupada, steadiness and consistency. These are the examples we see. And Rupa Goswami describes this various stages of spiritual life. From the very, very beginning stages of spiritual life, all the way up to this purity of heart and pure love of God. He describes that it begins with the level of inspiration. Specifically, he mentions Shraddha, which is faith. But faith begins with we have some faith, we see something that's incredibly inspiring. And then it invokes a level of faith. I want more of that. Anybody ever seen somebody and feels just like, I want a little of what that person has. I want a little bit of what that person has. I don't know what's going on here, but there's something in the air. There's something that I want, which this person has, or these people have, or I want a little bit of what that person moves through life with. So we talked about Shraddha. We build a little bit of faith. And then from that faith, we decide that we want to spend time around those people. He says we move from Shraddha to Sadhu Sangha. Association, we want to be around those people. And we see it sometimes with advanced devotees that we love, and around us when we come to town, everyone's kind of waddling around like a little duckling, like trying to move around and be as close as possible. When Gauranga comes into town, you see like monks and like single men who like kind of just very much following a strict path of devotion just become like fanboys and think, oh, I just want to be around that person. We all have those people that we aspire and look up to. We just want to be around them. That's called Sadhu Sangha. So we move from Shraddha to Sadhu Sangha. And then what happens when we're around people that inspire us? We want to start following their example. And that's known as bhajan and kriya. Where we start doing the devotional activities of the people that inspire us. So we initially get inspired. We see something that is attractive to us, that draws us. And we start spending time around people that inspire us. And we start performing activities that are in alignment with their example, bhajan and kriya. And then the next stage after bhajan and kriya is, anybody know this process?
Oh,
Before nurture. Yeah, we skip over that one sometimes.
Sorry.
It's a big one. I heard it back there also. Did somebody say? Krishna, anarta nivritti. What is anarta nivritti? What is an anarta? Unwanted thing. Artha means value, that which is a value, like Siddhartha, the Buddha Siddhartha, the perfection of value, of that which is of genuine wealth. So you can tell how wealthy a person is by counting the number of things that money can't buy. If they have it, money can't buy. So what is of genuine value? And anartha means that which is unvalued, unwanted in the heart. So what are some examples of an anartha?
Bad habits.
Bad habits.
Pride, envy.
Pride, envy, even more foundational and specific to bad habits is the things in our heart that fuel those bad habits. My pride, my envy, my greed, my anger, my arrogance, etc. Those qualities in the heart, which are in and of themselves antithetical to the soul. The soul is naturally such it ananda. It's filled with compassion. It's filled with love. Why? Because it's experiencing its own nature in such a way that it's not feeling incomplete. So much of these negative qualities which we exhibit in the material world stem from a feeling of incompleteness. Right? I've lost touch with my genuine self. I've lost touch with my eternal connection to Krishna. There is no FOMO in the spiritual world because there's no sense of ever being missed out because everything is right here, right now. Like you're never not connected. There's a beautiful example of, I was just speaking about this yesterday, I was looking at this story of the flower sermon with the Buddha. Anybody ever familiar with what's known as the flower sermon? It's a very short story. It's attributed to Buddha. He's giving a seminar to many of his advanced students. And he just sits in front, he just sits like this. And he doesn't say anything, he just holds up a flower. Some people say it's a lotus flower. And he just holds up the flower. Doesn't say anything. And everyone is just like these advanced monks and these students, they're just staring, they're just trying to figure out the meaning of what's going on here. They're just trying to think about, is he trying to give some sort of like secret message, and what kind of flower is it? They're looking at the shade of the flower, what's the color of the flower and the season, and they're just trying to kind of like calculate this message of what's he trying to tell us. And there's just one student in the entire audience who just looks at the flower and smiles. And then it says that the Buddha exchanges a glance and recognizes that that's the only person who understood what he was trying to say and trying to do. What was he trying to do? Nothing other than just appreciating the beauty of the flower. What a miraculous thing that this flower exists. And sometimes we overlook the simplest of things in our life, like what's my life's calling and my life's purpose and meaning and my service and everything, not recognizing that there's so much in right here, right now. We're never missing out on anything. There's so many verses you can look into the Gita. One of my favorite verses in Bhagavad Gita is 5:24, that one whose happiness is within, who is active and rejoices within, then they've already achieved the supreme. There's nothing lacking. But I can only experience that if I'm genuinely having a sense of connection in the heart, connected to my true self. I have an understanding, a genuine understanding of who God is and who Krishna is, and that He's never out there, but always right here and out there. Krishna mentions in Bhagavad Gita that one who sees me everywhere, I'm never lost to them, nor they ever lost to me. And you see this example in great souls that inspire us, is that they recognize that I'm always connected, that Krishna's always right here. And so we hit this place of anartha nivritti. And anartha is an unwanted thing. Those feelings in the heart, my pride, my envy, my greed, my illusion, which are a symptom of my own disconnection. Right? Why do I become proud? Because I'm attached to some identity that I think gives me value. I don't have value outside of this propped up identity of achieving something in the material world. Being better in some way than other people. That's what gives me value. I'm feeling envy because I'm feeling like somebody else has something more than me. They're cashing in on things that I don't have and need to obtain that. So these qualities that are a symptom of our disconnection from true self. And it's anartha nivritti. What does nivritti mean, Krishna Dayal? the exit path, to get rid of it. A cleaning house, the spring cleaning of the heart. So an Arjuna Vritti is this process, is this path of wanting to get to a place where I'm willing to be honest enough to open up the skeleton closet in my heart and start to peek in and peer at what's there. And I stop blaming the world and blaming other people and start taking responsibility for my side of the street, what's going on internally. The only thing which I do have control over. So spiritual life up until this point, according to Rupa Goswami, it's all hunky-dory, it's all beautiful, it's all sweet, it's just filled with inspiration. My faith is increasing. I'm experiencing inspiration by being around wonderful people, and I'm starting to associate with them, and I'm starting to do the activities of devotional service. And then I start to realize, I hit those big bumps when I realize that devotional life isn't just a series of activities, but it's a mood of selflessness and humility in which I perform those activities. And those kind of things in the heart start to come up. And then this shift of inspiration takes place, and all of a sudden the things that inspired us, our inspiration, starts to get mixed with, and let me know if you've experienced it before, it starts to get mixed with a little bit of intimidation. When the people and things that inspire us also start to intimidate us. Because I also start to feel like I'm not on that level. When we sincerely apply ourselves to spiritual life, two challenges crop up. One is that we struggle to obtain the standard of living which we like to set for ourselves. We struggle to get to a level in which we want to feel that I should be in order to be a good devotee. The second challenge is that even if we catch a wave, right? We're just like out there in the ocean, we catch that wave. The second challenge is that it's hard to sustain. I did it for a day. I did it for a week. I've been doing it for 10 years. And then we hit a bump. And it feels hard to sustain ourselves at a particular level. It becomes hard to sustain ourselves. And the inspiration, which gets mixed with an intimidation, because the things, I'm seeing everybody else doing these amazing things in spiritual life, and it's inspiring, but it's also intimidating because I feel like I'm not quite there yet. And that intimidation starts to become an isolation, where I start to feel like I don't quite necessarily fit in, I'll never quite get there. And so that invitation becomes a sense of an isolation. Everybody feel that before? Anybody feel like isolated a little bit, or feeling like there's people around you that are very inspiring and at the same time is a little intimidating, and it kind of leaves a little bit of space of like I'm not quite doing this as well as everybody else around me, right? That's an Arjuna Vritti. That's a process of working through the internal things in our heart in order to get to the place that we're aspiring to be in devotional service. And so, a verse that I wanted to share in this regard that I found very beautiful and hope-giving is from the Srimad Bhagavata, and it's from Queen Kunti. Queen Kunti shares this really, really beautiful verse in this regard that encapsulates how the process in which we use to get ahead materially is not the process we use to get ahead spiritually. Anybody want to share a thought or reflection or ask a question at this point? Or just share something that's come up with them? Yeah, please. You get a mic. What's your name?
Nick?
Nick? Thanks, Nick.
Yeah, I was reflecting on that stage, almost a state of purification, where I was speaking with this earlier with somebody about how eventually what Krishna consciousness does is it starts to show you all the things that, like you said, right across, like all the dirt starts to come out. And I was realizing that you have really two options, which is to see them and accept them, and the other is to continue to avoid them. And I think that's a big struggle, like with pure devotee syndrome or spiritual bypassing, where we, like you said, the material way of life is like hard work, and continuing to be this spiritual person, like I'm just going to continue reading, continue chanting, when you're really just trying to escape those inside feelings. So yeah, it's nice to go through that purification process.
Yeah. It reminds me of a really beautiful verse in the Bhagavad Gita, in the 2nd chapter. Krishna mentions this difference between material work and spiritual work. It's verse 40 of the 2nd chapter, where it mentions that in this endeavor there's no loss or diminution, and a little advancement on this path can protect one from the most dangerous type of fear. And so this idea of material failure, like unless I kind of, Prabhupada mentions in the purport throughout, like unless I sort of complete the task, I didn't make it, right? Unless I complete the task materially, it's like an all or nothing, like an all or nothing end game, right? Whereas in spiritual life, the way in which I make progression is by sincerely staying in the process. Because it's not a matter of performing in a particular way, but it's a matter of acting in a particular way that invokes the grace and blessings of the devotees and of Krishna in a way that lifts us up. And so it's going to be very natural in spiritual life that it is to be expected. It is to be expected that we are going to fall short. It's to be expected that we're going to stumble and we're going to hit our low points. It's to be expected that we're not going to do things perfectly. And how we manage that inflection point makes all the difference in our spiritual life. How we manage that inflection point of recognizing the way in which I'm not up to the standard that I set for myself, or that other people are setting for me, or how I manage that with other people. When I see other people struggling or falling into their low points in life, how do I relate to them? When you have a community that lives according or aspires to live according to very high standards, there's a high, sometimes a unintentionally likelihood for hypocrisy. Because we feel that the currency of acceptance is performing at a certain level. And when I'm not performing at that level, then I feel like I just have to kind of put on a front in order to be accepted. Because if I genuinely describe whatever struggle I may be going through, then I'm going to feel like I don't belong. Right? Without recognizing that the whole point is that I'm meant to struggle because the struggle reveals the things about myself that I need to work through. It's not about getting through things perfectly, but it's about recognizing the anarthas in my heart that I need to weed out so that I can get to the other side of that desert. And so Queen Kunti says very beautifully in this verse, and this is in the 1st canto of Srimad Bhagavatam in the 8th chapter. Let's recite it together because it's going to be very beautiful to recite the Sanskrit. We'll just recite it line by line. I'll just say one line and you can repeat after me. Janmaishwarya Shuta Shribir
Janmaishwarya Shuta Shribir
Edhimana Madapumam
Edhamana Madapumam
Naivar Hatya Vidatumbai
Naivarhatya Vidhantumbai
Twama Kinchana Gocharam.
Tvamakinchana Gocharam.
Let's read the whole thing all together. Janmaishwarya Shuta Shribir Edhimana Madapumam Naivar Hatya Vidatumbai Twama Kinchana Gocharam. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Somebody want to read out loud the translation? This is Queen Kunti speaking to Krishna.
Can you make it a little bigger?
How's that?
Yeah, that's fine.
Excuse me.
My Lord, your lordship can easily be approached, but only by those who are materially exhausted. One who is on the path of material progress, trying to improve himself with respectable parentage, great opulence, high education, and bodily beauty, cannot approach you with sincere feeling.
Thank you you so much. Oh my Lord, your Lordship can be easily approached only by those who are materially exhausted. One who is on the path of material progress, trying to improve themselves with respectable parentage, great opulence, high education, and bodily beauty, cannot approach you with sincere feeling. Let's read some of the commentary. I won't read the whole book, but it's just a paragraph. Being materially advanced means taking birth in an aristocratic family and possessing great wealth and education and attractive personal beauty. Even some of the examples of somebody that inspired us was somebody who was given great material beauty and lost it due to disease, and how they responded to that, right? We have a certain way of appreciating material advancement. All materialistic men are mad after possessing all these material opulences, and this is known as the advancement of material civilization. But the result is that by possessing all these material assets, one becomes artificially puffed up, intoxicated by temporary possessions. So that sense of anarta in the heart, that misidentification of self, thinking that I'm what I possess, that I am what I do, and having a false sense of who we are. Consequently, such materially puffed up persons are incapable of uttering the holy name of the Lord by addressing him feelingly. O Govinda, O Krishna. It is said in the Shastras that by once uttering the holy name of the Lord, the sinner gets rid of a quantity of sins that they are unable to commit. Such is the power of uttering the holy name of the Lord. There is not the least exaggeration of this statement. So we hear stories, we hear examples, we hear verses describing the power of sacred sound vibration, the power of Krishna's holy name, the power of kirtan. Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama Eva Kevalam, Glo Nasteva, Nasteva, Nasteva Katirnita. There's no way out of the material world other than dedicated chanting of Krishna's holy names, and it's so powerful. Yet I'm chanting Krishna's holy names all the time, and I'm still here. Is it not working? There's a comedian who was giving an example talking about commercials, and he was saying, like, isn't it amazing? Like oftentimes commercials have very little to do with the product itself, right? Like people are just they're drinking a Coca-Cola, and they're out on the beach, and they're windsurfing, and they're spiking volleyballs, and they're giving high fives, and they're jumping off cliffs, and they're riding down. And I'm sitting here drinking to my sofa thinking that maybe there's not enough ice in my glass, right? Like because we just see something and we just think like, you know, I'm doing the same thing that they're doing. I'm not getting the same results. And so Prabhupada is saying here that there's not the least exaggeration in those statements. Actually, the Lord's holy name has such a powerful potency, but there's a quality to such utterances also. There's a quality to those utterances also. It depends on the quality of feeling. And there's that inflection point. Right? When I get inspired, I apply myself to spiritual life in a particular way, and I hit my first bump, or a series of bumps, or I find myself falling short, I look around, I think everyone's more advanced than me, everyone else seems to be getting this but me. I go home, I know what I'm dealing with, I know what's going on inside my heart, whether it's physically struggling to maintain a schedule or a practice, and you know, chant your first round of Hare Krishna japa, and you're like, that was great, it took me about 20 minutes. How many of those do you do a day? We do 16 of those in a day, and that's the minimum. I go, oh, okay. See if I can do that tomorrow. I did it, took me 10 hours. You do that every day? Yeah, we do that every day. For how long? For the rest of your life. Okay. All right, let's do this. You know? It's not easy. It's not easy, right? And everybody shares about the inspiring things that happen in their spiritual life. We share stories of inspiration. We don't share our stories of our failures and our challenges and our difficulties. But they're there. We struggle. It happens. But there's a quality to those utterances. So now that inflection point, that actually it's not about the performance. And Kunkunti's talking about material performance. Because Krishna's not looking for your material performance. He's never going to be impressed by anything you do materially. There's never going to be like, Krishna will be like, I've never seen that before. I'm the creator of everything. I've been around for a long time. It's like, I've never seen something so beautiful. I've never heard anybody sing like that. I've never heard anybody create a company like that. I've never heard it. Never seen anybody with that many followers before. just doesn't happen. There's nothing to impress Krishna materially. But the simplest of things, with great heart, move the heart of God. And our spiritual life is not about getting everything done perfectly, but is getting to the point where we become so imbued with the feeling of healthy desperation in the soul. As Kunti describes it, akinchana gochana. The feeling of exhaustion in the heart that there's no way I can do this on my own. And so when we feel that intimidation of feeling like I can't quite do it, one aspect is to just quietly, silently sneak out the back door. I don't belong. And so instead of isolation, we want to move towards integration, where I come to a healthy accepting of my struggles, and I'm able to create a community. This is the work we have for ourselves, especially in a place like New York. New York is, if you haven't figured it out, it's a hard place to live. It's a hard. We have just some visitors here. It's like, I'm just here for a couple days. I'm in and I'm out. It's a hard place to exist, right? Anybody, Paris, who's feeling that right now? Yes. You feeling that, or you want to share something? She's like, I'm feeling it. Anybody, any native New Yorkers, anybody born in New York? Keshwar, Jayanta, there they are. Native New Yorker. But he doesn't live here anymore. Who are implants? All the rest of us are implants. You're from Queens? Yeah? From Queens? Who are implants coming from somewhere else? You gotta be one of the two. That's where you're like, I'm from. Most of us are from somewhere else, right? And you come here, and it's sort of just like, no one ever like moves to New York thinking like, this is where I'm gonna live the rest of my life. You kind of move to New York, and you're like, I'm gonna see how long I can make it. I'm gonna see how long I can make this happen, right? Because it's a hard place to live, and it's not just a hard place. It's a very hard place to practice spirituality. It's a really hard place to be a devotee. It's not easy. I have a friend of mine who was visiting over the summer, New York, and she was just talking about how hard it is even to wake up in the morning in New York. It's like it's hard to wake up early in New York. Like there's some modes of nature are so thick, right? The modes of passion and ignorance, just the energy of the air. It's so intense. It affects us in a very, very deep way. Paris, too.
In the beginning, thank you. It said about materially exhausted.
Yeah.
Will you please elaborate a little bit on what we mean here by material?
Yeah. Beautiful. I will share a scene, one of my favorite scenes from a movie of all time, from the first original Matrix. And sometimes you share things and it kind of dates you a little bit. Like they're coming out, I think, in a little bit with the new Willy Wonka movie, like this year or next year. And I told my wife that, and she was like, "Didn't they just make one?" And I was like, "This happened to me when a few years ago the Grinch movie came out, the animated one. I was like, didn't they just make one with Jim Carrey?" And I had to look up. I was like, "That was 20 plus years ago." I was like, "I just saw that in a theater with my friend." You know? She's like, "Didn't?" I was like, "I guarantee you that movie came out 20 years ago, one with Johnny Depp." And she was like, "It was like 19 years ago." So sometimes we think something's like, "Oh, that just came out." It's like, "Oh, that was 20, 30 years ago." So, anyways, still a good movie, still good stuff from it. Original Matrix. Neo's on his way to see Morpheus, and even if you don't know the movie, this isn't necessarily a spoiler alert, but he's on his way, and he has this opportunity to kind of, there's something dissatisfying with his life, he doesn't quite exactly know what it is, and he's on his way to see something that may have some answers. And everything about it just feels a little strange. And they're in a car, and they're on their way to see something. He's like, I don't want to do this. Like, drop me off at a nearby stop, wherever they're in a car. And it's very dramatic. It's raining, and they're under a bridge, and they open the door, and they say, "Fine, yeah, like, you can go. You don't have to come with us. But you know where that road leads. If you step out of that car, you know exactly where that road leads. You know exactly where that road leads." And he looks down this road, and it's like this dramatic, long alley, and it's raining, and you get that classic Keanu Reeves look on his face. It doesn't say anything, but it kind of speaks everything, where he's like, "You know what? I don't exactly know where you're taking me right now, but everywhere I've been in my past is not working. And I'm ready to try something new. That's material exhaustion. And you know what? I've tried everything. I've tried enough in the material world to know that there's nothing for me. And spiritual life is a gradual process of getting to that complete realization. We have a partial realization of it. We have a partial realization that there's nothing in the material world, but we also have some glimmer of hope that maybe there's a little something for me still here. A little something for me somewhere. And it's just a process of just getting hit over the head again and again, like there's nothing here. Prahlad Maharaj describes it as chewing the chew. Chewing a piece of gum, spitting it out, and then having second thoughts. Maybe I spit it out too early. Picking it back up, trying to suck some of the juice out, but now there's nothing here. Spitting it out, and having third thought. Maybe there's something over there. And you're just chewing something which has already been chewed. Realizing that there's nothing there. So that sense of material exhaustion, when I get to the point, this lifetime or many lifetimes, where I just recognize it, I'm no longer willing to buy into the lie of the material world. Does that share make sense?
Yeah, that's helpful. It's like, it's how I relate to what it's how I relate to the world. So it's like looking at anything, even a sandwich, right, as material versus like, oh, it's offered and it's now sacred food. So it's no longer just, it's like everything is actually a blessing that is part of something bigger. Even anything material is part of Krishna's energy.
Yeah.
So like
Well,
seeing that too.
well, there's the beautiful expression from the Vaisnava who said that I slept and I dreamt that life was joy, and I awoke and saw that life was service, and I acted and behold service is joy. And so I think the idea of this life is meant for my enjoyment, and I'm going to squeeze everything I can out of it, a me-centric approach to life, as opposed to a God-centric approach to life that I'm actually meant to serve. And it's not that I'm meant to turn my back on everything in the material world, but I'm meant to see everything as a vehicle of service. And in that regards, I find joy, but my happiness becomes a byproduct of my service. My focus is in trying to live a life of service and seeing how I can use things in service, as opposed to trying to squeeze something out for my own enjoyment, which is like this catch-22 that doesn't quite work.
Thank you.
So, again, Queen Kuti's, Srila Prabhupada is talking, there's a quality to such utterances also. It depends on the quality of feeling. A helpless person can feelingly utter the holy name of the Lord, whereas someone who utters the same name in great material satisfaction cannot be so sincere. A materially puffed up person may utter the holy name of the Lord occasionally, but is incapable of uttering the name in quality. Therefore, the four principles of material advancement, namely, as described in the verse, high parentage, good wealth, high education, and attractive beauty, are, so to speak, disqualifications for progress on the path of spiritual advancement. Srila Prabhupada, I love how he mentions, so to speak, which I think is his way of just referencing and mentioning that they're not in and of themselves disqualifications, but our relationship to them can become a disqualification. The material covering of the pure spirit soul is an external feature, as much as fever is an external feature of the unhealthy body. The general process is to decrease the degree of the fever and not to aggravate it by maltreatment. Sometimes it is seen that spiritually advanced persons become materially impoverished. There is no discouragement. On the other hand, such empowerment is a good sign as much as the falling of temperature is a good sign. The principle of life should be to decrease the degree of material intoxication, which leads one to be more and more illusioned about the aim of life. Grossly illusioned persons are quite unfit for entrance into the kingdom of God. So this verse of Queen Kunti, which in some ways is talking just about like getting rid of material attachments and not being so strong avarice for material things. When I read it, it also relates to the idea of being humbled by life in a way that allows us to approach our spirituality faithfully. And even life humbles us materially, and when we come to spiritual life, we also get humbled spiritually. we also get humbled spiritually in order to bring us to a point where we feel a deep sense of dependency and surrender, so that we feel that we can be lifted up. And we only have a few minutes left. I always say that I want to get to some stories and examples, and we don't quite get there. We find this example, of course, most saliently in the Bhagavad Gita through Arjuna. Right? We find the example of Arjuna. Arjuna being a stalwart warrior, everything together, completely, literally brought to his knees, and expressing himself honestly towards Krishna. We have that honesty of Arjuna, setting the example first and foremost, of being able and willing to admit when I don't have it together. There's the example of Dhruva Maharaj. Anybody know the story of Dhruva Maharaj? We usually, when we think of the story of Dhruva Maharaj, we think of the first part of the story. What's the first part of the story? The first part of the story is Dhruva Maharaj being neglected by his father and his family, leaving home, meeting Krishna in the forest, having some beautiful grace and realization, and becoming a great devotee. And we think of Dhruva Maharaj, and we describe Dhruva Maharaj, and we approach Dhruva Maharaj as a great devotee. Beautiful story, right? There's a whole second part of the story. There's a lot of parts of this story, but the second part is Srimad Bhagavatam. Anybody know the second part of the story of Dhruva Maharaj? Go Krishna.
He's
Just briefly, what's the synopsis?
he been humbled by his authorities because he was becoming angry unnecessarily on yakshas. He was killing unnecessarily
Yeah.
and trying to commit revenge on the death of his brother.
There's a story of Dhruva Maharaj after he becomes the king. His younger brother was killed. And Dhruva Maharaj goes on a revenge campaign. And he overdoes it. Where it's not just, I'm not just going to seek revenge on the particular person who wronged my brother, but I'm going to just anybody in any vicinity. And his anger gets away from him. There's some beautiful verses that I wanted to just read and share because we just have a few minutes left. Let's see. Yes. Let's go down, let's find actually a few verses. We'll read some of these verses really quick. I'll just read through them. Sri Maitreya said, this is from the Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th canto, 11th chapter. Sri Maitreya said, my dear Vidura, when Dhruva Maharaj heard the encouraging words of the great sages, he performed the Atma by touching water, and then took up his arrow made by Lord Narayan and fixed it upon his bow. As soon as Dhruva Maharaj joined the Narayanastra arrow to his bow, as he was preparing his weapons, the illusion created by the yakshas was immediately vanquished, just as all material pains and pleasures are vanquished when one becomes fully cognizant of the self. Even as Dhruva Maharaj fixed the weapon made by Narayana Rishi on his bow, arrows with golden shafts and feathers like the wings of a swan flew out from him. They entered the enemy soldiers with a great hissing sound, just as peacocks enter a forest with tumultuous crowing. These sharp arrows dismayed the enemy soldiers, who became almost unconscious. With various yakshas on the battlefield in a rage against Dhruva Maharaj, somehow or other collected their weapons and attacked. Just as serpents agitated by a Garuda rushed towards Garuda with upraised hoods, all the yakshas soldiers prepared to overcome Dhruva Maharaj with their upraised weapons. When Dhruva Maharaj saw the yakshas, this is battle taking place, saw the yakshas coming forward, he immediately took his arrows and cut the enemies to pieces, separating their arms, legs, heads, and bellies from their bodies. He delivered the yakshas to the planetary system, which is situated above the sun globe, and which is attainable only by first-class brahmacharis who have never discharged their semen. Hare Krishna. Talking about celibate monks who lived a very ascetic lifestyle. When Swayambhuva Manu saw that his grandson Dhruva Maharaj was killing so many yakshas who were not actually offenders, out of his great compassion, he approached Dhruva with great sages to give him good instruction. Lord Manu said, my dear son, please stop. It is not good to become unnecessarily angry. It is the path to hellish life. Now you are going beyond the limit by killing yakshas who are actually non-offenders. My dear son, the killing of the sinless yakshas, which you have undertaken, is not at all approved by authorities, and it does not befit our family, which is supposed to know the laws of religion and irreligion. My dear son, it has been proved that you are very much affectionate towards your brother and are greatly aggrieved at his being killed by the yakshas. But just consider, for one yaksha's offense, you have killed many others who are innocent. One should not accept the body as the self, and thus, like the animals, kill the bodies of others. This is especially forbidden by sacred persons who follow the path of devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is very difficult to achieve the spiritual abode of Hari in the Vaikuntha planets, but you are so fortunate that you are already destined to go to that abode by worshipping Him as the supreme abode of all living entities. Because you are a pure devotee of the Lord, this is the interesting part. Because you are a pure devotee of the Lord, Dhruva Maharaj is being described as a pure devotee. Pure devotee with anger issues. The Lord is always thinking of you. And you are also recognized by all His confidential devotees. You're the example, Dhruva. You're the inspiration. We look to the example of Dhruva Maharaj as one of the people that inspires us. Your life is meant for exemplary behavior. I am therefore surprised. Why have you undertaken such an abominable task? The Lord is very satisfied with devotee when the devotee greets other people with tolerance, mercy, friendship, and equality. Dhruva Maharaj, the standard of devotion, coming up against an anartha. So we describe pure devotees in Srimad Bhagavatam, and they are pure devotees, pure, but not pure because they are always perfect in their behavior, but they're perfect in their sincerity to continuously throw themselves at Krishna's service, being willing to be corrected when they make a mistake, and never relinquishing their service and their practice just because they're struggling to do it perfectly. And as a community of devotees, we're going to end here because we're out of time. The creating space for vulnerability in Vaishnava communities is when we take up the task of creating that space for other people to be honest, like Arjuna, to extend understanding, as in the case of Swayambhu Manu speaking to Dhruva Maharaj. I understand why you're angry. I understand that you're trying really, really hard. The way you're going about it isn't the right way. Not judging people by their mistakes, but understanding the sincerity behind their actions. And extending grace and an undying radical acceptance to let people know that this is not the village of perfect people, but this is the ongoing correctional facility where we're trying to weed out the anarthas in our hearts so that we can get to a place of twamakinchana gochanam, as Kunti mentions, of complete exhaustion of wanting to do anything else other than extend myself towards the Lord of Lord Shri Krishna. So we don't have time for more discussion or questions or answers, but I wanted to share that with us, and I wanted to encourage us and request of us and inspire us and invite us to create that type of community where we are able to create space for other people, knowing that each and every one of us is trying something that's really, really hard. We're not always going to get it right. And instead of dejecting ourselves and rejecting other people, creating space where we can be honest with each other and encourage each other to stay on the train, to stay on the process. And in that way, we will be picked up by the hand of Krishna and move towards His divine lotus feet. Thank you all so much. Bhagavatam ki jai.
Gauranga Puri.
Jai.
Please everyone stay. We're going to have arti and dancing now. So please, if you can just move these red cushions and everyone come forward so we can sing and dance. Hare Krishna.
Prasaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nityanamine
Krishna Krishnaya
Hare
Brahmacharya Shri Prabhupada ki
Jai.
Brahmacharya Shri Haridas Thakur Aim Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Sari Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyamakunda Radha Kundagiri Govardhana ki Shri Vrindavan ki Shri Mayapur Dham ki Gangamaya ki Jamuna ki Tulsi Devi ki Bhakti Devi ki Shri Prabhupada's Transcendental Bhakti Distribution ki Gaur Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. All glories to you, Srila Prabhupada.
Namaste, Narasimhaya.
Namaste, Narasimhaya.
Namaste, Narasimhaya.
Namaste, Narasimhaya. La Hey!
Hare Krishna. Thank you again, everyone, for being here for Bhagavata Sravana today. It's been so beautiful having everyone. I have a few announcements before breaking for Prasadam. This happens every Sunday, and next Sunday we have really special guests, Jaini Tai and his wife Bhagavati coming. They travel all around the world and they teach devotee care courses, and they're going to be speaking on devotee care in the Srimad Bhagavatam. And then please stay, there's going to be after lunch a seminar with them from 2 to 4 p.m. here in the temple room. And that's going to be an introduction to their devotee care course that they teach all around the world. Yes, so please come for that. And then the following Sunday, August 6th, is going to be Gauranga Das, and he's going to be speaking on the 10 topics of Srimad Bhagavatam. We also have a one-day retreat with Krishna Kshetra Swami, who's an amazing teacher, amazing Swami and Guru. And he's going to be doing it on reading and living with Chaitanya Charitamrita, re-entering the world of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's life and teachings. That's going to be Saturday, October 14th. So go ahead, the information's on our website. You can sign up, it's free, but donations are very much appreciated to help us cover the cost for the event and bring this to you. So you can sign up, registration is required, and donate on our website. And we also need volunteers for that event, so if you'd like to get involved and do some service and help us run the event, you can also sign up on our website. We're also having 2 more one-day retreats coming up. We have a one-day self-care retreat with Mahatma Prabhu on Saturday, August 26th, and it's on self-care. So it's on how to take care of ourselves so we can serve others and serve Krishna. And the same thing, it's also completely free for our community as a service to all of you, but donations are very much appreciated to cover the cost. We also need volunteers, and you also need to register. So same thing for all the one-day retreats. And then we have a one-day retreat on September 30th with Rukmini Walker, who is one of the most senior Prabhupada disciples in the world, actually. She joined in San Francisco in the very early days when she was only 16 years old, and she's going to be actually taking us through our chakras, our energy centers, and teaching us how to align them so we can better serve Krishna. Then we have festival season is coming up. It's so exciting. Julan Yatra is going to start on Sunday, August 27th with Mahatma Prabhu. It's actually going to start during the Bhagavata Sravana, so we'll have a special Bhagavata Sravana that day with Julan. And then we'll have Monday nights from 7 to 8, Tuesday night from 7 to 8, culminating on Wednesday, August 30th with Balaram Jayanti. And that's from 6:30 to 9 p.m. Balaram Jayanti. And Janmashtami, mark your calendar, September 6th from 6:30 to 12:30. And the schedule is up on the website. The Sign of Genius will be up soon. And just keep your eyes posted for it, because we definitely would love volunteers for that event. And you can sign up on our website to volunteer. Not yet, but it'll be there very, very, very soon. And then every Tuesday we have a program with Yogeshwara or Yogi Green, and he does a really beautiful conversation on spiritual topics, and he will have a special guest this coming July 25th, Elsie Mayo, who's founder of Soul Branding. And then on August 5th, Saturday, from 10 a.m. to 6:30 p.m., we are going to be here in this temple room chanting japa the whole day. Come and go as you please. Also stay the whole day if you'd like to stay the whole day. Chant 64 rounds. Also have a special lunch for everybody after the 12:30 RT. And so please come to that. You can also sign up to volunteer for that on our website. And then Dayal here, who spoke today, is leading a Bhakti Shastri course online on Saturday mornings. And you'll be studying Nectar of Instruction, Sri Upanishad, Bhagavad Gita, and Nectar of Instruction. So you'll be going through all of the main texts of Bhakti. So if you're interested in really diving into Shastra, deepening your knowledge, and really bringing this knowledge to life, please sign up for that. And that's all of my announcements for now. Thank you all so much for being here. Please stay, make a donation in the back. We have lunch, prasadam for you. Stay and make a friend. And if you want to sign up for this newsletter that I was just reading from, you can go to bhakticenter.org and scroll down to the bottom of our website and click on Join Our Temple Newsletter, and that will give you this nice weekly email of events we have going on here. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.